Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Derek here, and I want to give you guys another video today. And this time, I want to talk about the PlayStation Classic lineup of games, and I want to give some of my thoughts and opinions on this thing. Mainly because I don't think this thing should be $100. Look at the NES Classic, look at the Super Nintendo Classic. Neither one of those are $100. I think this thing needs to be more in line with those prices. I think $80 would be more acceptable. But I want to go over the game list. I have it pulled up on my phone here and give my thoughts. So the first game on the list, and going in alphabetical order, is Battle Arena Toshinden. I'm actually kind of shocked this game got picked, although I guess it was a bigger franchise at the time that has since died off. This is one of the few PlayStation games I actually owned as a kid that I really, really enjoyed, and I'm really glad to see that this particular one is getting some recognition on the Classic. And I've never played the sequels, but very cool that that got on there. Cool Borders 2. I think they knew they had to put some sports game. I think the Cool Borders series was a pretty big series. I've personally not played it, but I've watched some other reviewers say that they played it way back in the day. I'm just not sure how well it holds up, but interesting. Destruction Derby. This was a really good pick. This is a really, really awesome game. It's also on the N64. So that was a good pick. Final Fantasy VII, I think we all knew that would be on there. They kind of had to. It was like one of the biggest games on the PlayStation, I'm pretty sure. I personally don't really care about Final Fantasy, but I'm glad that they picked it to put on there. I think that's going to sell some consoles to some people. The original Grand Theft Auto. This is another one I was a little surprised to see make this list, because when you talk about Grand Theft Auto, most people never bring up the originals for PlayStation, and 2 is on the Dreamcast, but they never bring up Grand Theft Auto 1, 2, or London 1969. And they're great. Now, they're not like traditional, GTA games. I guess you could say the new GTA games aren't like the traditional ones, but, for all intents and purposes, they're top-down games, action games. You go around doing missions and killing people. It's much like Grand Theft Auto today, just from a top-down perspective, and very good. Glad that got put on there. Intelligent Cube is a puzzle game that's actually quite rare and expensive, and from what I hear is also really good. I've never played it, but glad to see that included. Jumping Flash is a really cool platformer that I didn't think people cared about, but obviously it made a big enough impact to make it onto the Classic. Metal Gear Solid. They knew that they had to put this game on there, because I know multiple people who would say that this game is their favorite game of all time. And it's not my favorite Metal Gear game. My favorite Metal Gear game is Metal Gear Solid 2. But the first one is really good, and I think they knew they had to make that one on there. Mr. Driller. This is another game that I've always wanted to try and never have. I know it's also on the Dreamcast. It's not a very expensive game. I think I'm not even really sure what kind of game it is. I just always like the cover. I'm assuming it's a puzzle game, but a neat pick nonetheless. Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey. These are really interesting games with some pretty cool humor in them. I think there's 2 on the PS1, 2 or 3. I've only played the first one, I think, which is this one. So, cool pick. Rayman, great platformer, very colorful, very beautiful. PlayStation 1 doesn't have a whole lot of traditional platformers from what I know, but that was a good pick. Although, I'm going to go over games I think should be on this list afterwards, and games I don't think should be on here at all. Resident Evil Director's Cut. Again, I think they knew they had to put Resident Evil. I'm surprised it wasn't Resident Evil 2, because I think that's the one everybody grew up with and remembers, but they put a Resident Evil, so I guess I can't be too upset. Now, here's one of the big ones that I was very, very shocked and surprised, and yet very happy to see, and this would almost warrant buying the Classic, because this game alone is going to cost more than the Classic. Revelations Persona. I've never got the chance to play Persona 1 or 2. Like I said, to buy this game would cost more than the Classic. I think it's like a $140 game. And I'm almost debating on getting one solely for that game. I haven't decided yet. But very, very cool. I hope that they will make some more I don't know if you can really do variations of these things. I don't know. I'd like to see the second one come to a system at some point. Ridge Racer Type 4. It's Ridge Racer. It's a great racing game. Glad to see that. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo. That I was really happy to see make the list too. That is an amazing, amazing game that's very underrated. It's also on the Game Boy Advance, I believe, but it's a worse version. Siphon Filter. In my opinion, this game doesn't really hold up today, but I know it is a classic game that everyone likes. Tekken 3, great fighter. I think having 2 fighters on here was a good idea instead of just having Battle Arena. And Tekken is a great series, and I would probably say 3 is the best. Now, here's one of the games that I don't think should be on this list at all. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. I don't know anybody that has gone out of their way to get this game. I've never heard anybody talk about it. I mean, I know it kickstarted the series, but it just doesn't seem like a fit for the classic, and I'm sure it doesn't hold up. Twisted Metal. Amazing, like, destruction game. You go around fighting in cars and shit. It's very good. Everyone knows Twisted Metal. And the last one is Wild Arms. It was very nice to see another RPG make this list. It's another game I've never got the chance to play, but I know it's supposed to be really, really good. So overall, it's a pretty solid list of games. But I would take some out. I would change Rayman for Klonoa. I was really upset Klonoa didn't make this list because that's another really expensive game. I would take out Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and you know there's one series you guys didn't see on here, and that's Gran Turismo, and I'm sure that has to do with the fact they'd have to relicense everything. But if I had it my way, take out Tom Clancy, put Gran Turismo 2 in there. I still love that game even though it looks graphically horrible. I would change Resident Evil for Resident Evil 2. Let's see. Cool Borders 2 could go. I'm trying to think what I would replace it with. What do I have? Apparently I have Siphon Filter. I have a really cool PS1 game called Into Nitrous Oxide. I'd probably put that on this list. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with the PlayStation. And I'm really debating on buying one of these, but it's $100. That seems steep to me. I really think it should be $80. But what'll make this thing really cool is if you can do what you can do with the NES Classic and the Super Nintendo Classic, and if you can mod them to put your own games. That would be fucking cool. But overall, it's a pretty good list. Like I said, some shocking ones on here. Stuff like Intelligent Cube and Revelations Persona, Puzzle Fighter, stuff like that I didn't think would make this list. But I think some games should be swapped. But overall, it's not too bad. I really just don't think this thing should be $100. But Sony loves to price shit way too fucking high. If anybody remembers the PS3 fiasco. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. If you think it's too expensive, if you think it's right, what games you would want to see on it. And I'll see y'all later.